Welcome back. Okay, parents, this is like I'm asking myself these questions. Here's a question for you and for me. Have you noticed a change in your child since he or she went back to class? And here to teach you a lesson about school stress is licensed professional clinical counselor Rhonda Martin. How are you?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you.
You know, I thought it was pretty stressful for my wife getting everybody off, one off to college, one off to school, and that sort of thing. And then you sort of forget out once they're gone, everything's fine. But maybe not. Maybe there's some warning signs we should look at the children and see if something's hard for them to adjust to.
Exactly, and we can start as early as even into preschool and just look at the behavior the first 10 or 15 minutes that the child gets home. If they get off the bus and they come in the house and drop their backpack and, like many kids do, kick their shoes and socks off by the door.
Throw a book through the window?
Well, we hope that doesn't happen, but if you ask them, hey, could you pick that up, Susie and Johnny, will you pick those up? And if the child starts to show distress at that point from having anything interrupted, that's certainly a sign. And we can also tell too that the change in their vocabulary, just how they usually speak, if they tend to get a little bit more angry or use some of the language that we see in some of the video games.
Could this take days to evolve and show? I mean, the first day, I mean, they barely know what's going on. It's like a drive-by.
Right.
You know, it's like.
Well, this is the perfect time for that. We're a few weeks into the school year, and this is the perfect time. And generally 3 or 4 weeks in, most things have calibrated, and the child is pretty much in the new routine. So when you see these types of behaviors, now is the time to take a look.
So child comes home acting a little different, maybe talking about different things, maybe interested in things that doesn't seem to fit the personality? Well,
yes, and some of them get stuck on things that happen through the course of the day. So if maybe there's some incident where someone didn't want to sit by them at lunch that day, or if there was a little group at recess that left out one of the children, and if that child doesn't transition when they get home into the nighttime activities, such as their football or soccer that they go to, instead if they sit there and talk continuously for 2 or 3 hours, keep on bringing up that troublesome aspect of their day, that is a sign for a parent. And it's interesting because at some of the football games I go to, the parents will say, you know, I really don't know what happens all day with this child because he comes home and doesn't talk about it. And that may not be such a bad thing, David. That may actually be a quite good adjustment.
So it shows some growth.
Yes.
How about changing clothes? Like, I don't want to wear those clothes anymore. Maybe somebody made fun of them or something like that, huh?
Right, that's definitely anything that the child brings up. And sometimes as parents, we're on the computer or we're busy getting lunches ready for the next day, and we don't want to just kind of take it in passing. What I always encourage parents to do in my practice is if your child comes home and they're upset about something, you want to make sure that you have at least 1/3 of that emotion when you express it back. So if that child is upset about something that happened at a game they were playing at recess, you want to be certain to say, hey, I understand, Caleb. Tell me, it looks like you're frustrated, and I would feel that way too. What's going on? And get into their conversation with their energy level and their emotional level.
How many signs of stress are there? Because I mean, we all show stress in different ways. I imagine children do too.
Right. Well, they do too, and many of them are the same ways that adults do. As an adult, I just saw that last segment, we can crave things that aren't so good for us. Eating, right. The children that crave the white flour carbs and white sugar and just will only eat macaroni and cheese, and they simply want sweets. That's a good sign to look for, because whenever we have stress, our body has that reaction of wanting those white flour carbs right away.
Maybe things make you feel better, huh?
Yes, exactly. And so we want to watch for that. And also if the child's complaining about stomach aches, or if they need to use the restroom a lot before they're getting ready to go out the door in the morning, just anything that would trigger you to notice that their stomach might hurt.
So how about the parents that go like, stop complaining. When I went to school, it was worse than that. That doesn't fix anything either.
It doesn't fix anything. And things are a lot different now. And with that, again, it's just that emotional understanding of the child and looking for these signs, and just listen to the overall level in your home of chaos or peace at night. And if there's a lot of chaos at night in the home, it tells us something very important. It tells us that the rivalry between the siblings is up, and at a point in this month of September that we would expect that sibling rivalry would be right back down to where it usually is in the school year. It's high in the summer, and when we have structure, it's much more calm in the household. If your household is chaotic at night from some of these kinds of things, it may be time to seek out some extra help.
How about kids trying to overmanage their emotions? Like sometimes parents get too involved. Maybe the teacher's trying to get a child to another level or something. You know, they talk about cutting the apron strings. So can parents get in the way of this process of kids growing up by trying to be too careful?
Well, if it continues for a long time into the evening, then it is time for the parent to get involved. If it's just minor, a few things going on a few nights of the week and they last less than 10 minutes, it's really not that much to worry about.
Okay, I saw this book here. Is that your picture?
That is not my picture. Maybe about 35 years ago, that could have been my picture.
How cute is that? What can people find in this book, Stuck?
Well, in that book, you're going to find a lot of, Cinnamon will express throughout the book different issues that go on in her school day where she has anxiety and what it's like for her to get stuck. And we mentioned in our conversation about just the kids that get stuck on some of those things that don't really matter that much, but to them they matter a great deal. And Cinnamon will cover some of those. So parents might want to check that website. It's at www.ocdandkids.com.
Perfect. And is this a book you sit down with your child?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's perfect.
Yes, and many of the children will point to pictures and say, you know, this happens to me, or, you know, I never really verbalized it, but that happened to me when I was younger. Some of the 10 and 11-year-olds will say that.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Learned something there. That's pretty good.